I really need an HTPC for my living room. Problem is, I don't have space to accommodate a mini ITX build, plus I don't need that much power considering my gaming PC can do whatever I throw at it. Let's see, what are the options out there? Maybe a compute stick? Too underpowered actually. How about a NUC, now that mobile Kaby Lake chips are available? I think this should be fitting. Alright, let's do this. But first, a message from our sponsor.
The Z9 Neo by Zalman brings all the right features on a budget, with a large windowed side panel, 5 included fans, and an excellent interior layout with super simple cable management. Get it now? Link in the description below.
Folks, meet the AsRock Beebox-S, a tiny and simple looking mini PC that retails for about $350, which for a bare bones kit itself is relatively affordable when compared against something like the Skull Canyon NUC Dimitri looked at a while ago. With this, you get the basics of a chassis, CPU, cooler, motherboard, and a few other items, but you'll need to buy the memory, operating system, and storage, so there's an additional cost involved. AsRock does offer a fully equipped Beebox-S with all these components already installed, but that will cost you about $150 more. I also want to make myself clear, this is not meant to replace a gaming PC, and it won't compete against the Skull Canyon NUC either. Rather, the Beebox-S offers performance that's well suited for basic tasks like web browsing, word processing, high-definition media consumption. So let's find out if it can keep up to the above-mentioned tasks. Powering the Beebox is a 7th Gen Kaby Lake Core i5-7200U dual-core quad-thread processor clocked at 2.5 GHz that turbo boosts up to 3.1 GHz. This is accompanied by Intel HD620 graphics, which runs at up to 1 GHz. AsRock has also included an M.2 Wi-Fi card from Intel that supports 802.11 AC and Bluetooth 4.0 standards. Now, since this is a bare bones kit, you'll need to populate your preferred RAM modules, which by the way can be maxed out to 32 GB. There's an extra M.2 slot that supports these M.2 based drives, plus you can mount a traditional 2.5-inch hard drive on the bottom panel with the included bracket and connect it to the logic board through the combined SATA and power cable, which also comes in the box. So in my case, I opted for Corsair's Value Select 16GB SODIMM DDR4 kit clocked at 2133 MHz and their 240GB Force LE 2.5-inch SSD. So in total, we're looking at an additional $300 with the operating system on top of the $350 investment for the Beebox. Alright, I know this is a bit of an overkill, but I wanted my new mini PC to be relatively future-proof. The extra parts cost can vary depending on your configuration, but remember, acquiring a fully functioning Windows PC with a built-in wireless card in this form factor for $800 is amazing. Installing the RAM and SSD was fairly simple, but the included SATA cable could be prone to damage, as closing the bottom panel with the SSD mounted required a little bit of pressure. Users have reported the system not recognizing their 2.5-inch hard drive, so I would be extra careful with this step. Luckily, I never experienced issues with loading up Windows 10 and the appropriate drivers on the SSD. AsRock has also included a base mount bracket for the Beebox, and it can support both 75 and 100mm options. Taking a peek at the I/O, you'll find a 3.5mm headphone and microphone input, a single USB 3.0 port, and a USB 3.1 Gen 2 Type-C port. The IR blaster for the included remote is also located in the front side, and it is important to place the unit facing this side for best control. The rear I/O consists of a Kensington lock, gigabit LAN port, 2 USB 3.0 ports, a single display port, and 2 HDMI ports. Do note that one of these HDMI ports is limited to processing 4K at 30 Hz. Either way, you can run dual monitor setup without compromising quality, and that's a thumbs up. Now, in terms of native 4K playback, the Beebox handled it smoothly on my Dell 4K monitor. The Core i5 CPU is plenty powerful to handle content from YouTube, Netflix, and other media streaming services. However, the fans do kick in when loading up a video from YouTube, but it settles down quickly during playback, but it normally stays silent when performing idle tasks like web browsing. The included remote is a nice addition as it features all the basic controls you need, like volume adjust, play pause, skip tracks, and navigating buttons. If you're considering using the Beebox as an HTPC, this is a game changer. I installed Kodi, which is an open source home theater software, through the Windows Store, and after tinkering around with various add-ons through the app, I was up and running in no time. You can use this remote to navigate through the app, skip through movies, TV shows, adjust the volume, and put the Beebox to sleep, which is super convenient, so you don't have to rely on a Bluetooth keyboard or a mouse for that. I just wish they added a custom button to the remote which could have been programmed to open a certain application. I did push the Core i5 to its limit to test and see how it can handle CPU-intensive tasks. Starting with Cinebench, a popular benchmarking tool, the Beebox scored 45 frames per second on OpenGL. On the CPU side, it hit a little north of 300 points for the CPU test, which is respectable, and it's actually right in line with something like AMD's A10 7870K processor. Remember, this is an ultra-low voltage processor, and it consumes a maximum of just 25 watts. Photoshop CC 2017 ran surprisingly well for my thumbnail edits, but you have to be aware that this program requires a lot of RAM to process changes, and in my case, 16GB was just perfect for the task. Premiere Pro was able to play back my C100 footage at full resolution without a problem, but adding an adjustment layer with Lumetri color required toning down the playback resolution to a quarter. I wouldn't touch editing 4K footage as the CPU will struggle to play back in real time, but casual 1080p editing would be okay. For the sake of testing the integrated GPU, I did run a few games, but they ended up performing poorly even at 1080p with minimum settings. For example, CSGO experienced stutters occasionally, so I lost track of my aim and I didn't do that great through the gameplay. Overwatch, which really does require a discrete GPU to run, did pretty well, but turning down the settings resulted in characters that were pixelated and visually the game looked awful. For some basic titles like Hearthstone, the Beebox with the 7200U processor would be adequate, but in fast-paced titles where frame rate is key, don't expect miracles. Looking at the temperature side of things, I ran IDA64 to stress test the CPU and the integrated GPU. The chip ran a little over 80 degrees Celsius, but stressing just the CPU yielded 74 degrees Celsius, and during idle, the system ran at 53°C. Let's take a listen to how the system sounds under both scenarios. Performing simple tasks like web browsing with multiple tabs open worked flawlessly, and the built-in wireless AC Wi-Fi card performed just as expected, providing strong throughput over my 5 GHz network. I would even consider the Beebox as a separate work machine for myself to write scripts, email, and do research without relying on my workstation PC that theoretically draws a lot more power compared to this. I'm tired of paying expensive hydro bills, you know? So to conclude, my experience with the Beebox PC was very satisfying. It's an excellent machine to get basic tasks done, and the 7th gen ultra low voltage Core i5 processor proved its potential. Just being able to upgrade the RAM up to 32 gigabytes and also house 2 storage options in such a compact form factor is incredible. The included remote is a wonderful add-on, and I definitely enjoyed using this to navigate through Kodi and other apps. This is definitely a worthy option if you're looking for a compact HTPC. There are many other applications for the system too. For example, folks who want a basic PC for their children, businesses that want to save on electrical costs, and even professionals who want to keep their primary system crunching away on data. It is an affordable, compact, and very efficient solution. My only gripe about the Beebox is the included SATA and power cable. Users have reported about them being damaged during installation, so AsRock, if you're watching this, you better take notes. I would prefer a more durable cable in the next revision.
Oh, hey there. NCX.com is Canada's leading e-tailer for anything your mind desires. Just keep within those categories, which are plenty, and get tempted by the weekly deals. Visit NCX.com for all them sweet deals.
So what do you guys think about the AsRock Beebox-S? Are you satisfied with the performance of this tiny and cute looking PC? Or are there any alternatives that you might be interested in? Let us know in the comments down below. I'm Ebro with Canucks. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.